is out in theaters now and stars Georgina Campbell, Bill Skarsgård, and Justin Long. In town for a job interview, a young woman arrives at her Airbnb late at night, only to find that it has been mistakenly double booked and a strange man is already staying there. Against her better judgment, she decides to stay the night anyway, but soon discovers that there is much more to be afraid of in the house than the other house guests. Barbarian was a movie that really interested me from its trailer. It looked like it had an interesting premise, and despite some predictability within the movie, even within the first half hour or so, when things are starting to ramp up or it's setting up what's going to come, it's a really, really effective horror movie. Sure, there were things I was able to predict, like when she goes down in the basement and she comes back up, I said, oh, the door's going to close and it's going to lock. And the door closed and it was going to lock. Or somebody said something and I said, well, he's going to do that. And he did exactly that. Yeah, you can predict things like this in this movie. I don't think it really hinders the movie because the rest of the movie ends up subverting a lot of my expectations. The way the movie is set up is half of the description of the movie that I just read to you. Is that there's this stranger in this Airbnb. And the movie sets it up for him to be an integral part of the movie, or at least the entire movie, or has something to do with what is going on in this house. Somehow, the movie subverts your expectations of that and does something completely different that I was not expecting at all, despite those predictability factors that I had with the script and how those were staged for the first 30 or so minutes of the movie. This movie essentially felt like to me that season 4 episode of Supernatural called Family Remains. I'm gonna leave it at that. After watching this movie, I never want to go underground in any basements, water caverns, or underground caves ever. Never. If anybody ever asked me, I'm gonna be like, nope, you're on your own, sorry. Have fun down there. I'll be up here. The way the movie is structured, too, makes you believe that it's gonna focus on a couple of different characters, because what seems like at about the 45-minute mark, the movie does something, and then it cuts immediately to Justin Long's character. And now you have to really piece together the puzzle as to what his purpose in this movie is and how he connects to everything here. And I thought that that was actually done very brilliantly. When Justin Long comes in, I love that he's just playing essentially a cartoon version of himself. He's like this dumb, dim-witted actor who has a troubling career because there's allegations against him, and he's just cracking jokes half the time. And there's this running joke for about like 2 minutes. It's one scene. Thank God they didn't keep going back to this, but it's one scene involving a tape measure. Everybody in the theater was dying laughing. It was hilarious as shit. Just him freaking out for no reason was hilarious. Georgina Campbell, though, was really good as well. I loved her portrayal of this character because she had no fear and she was resourceful. And that's what some of the best horror movie female characters are. Smart, resourceful, and fearless. And she attacked those problems and the conflict in this house head on, and she totally killed it in the role. I loved it. There's a lot of great atmospheric moments in this movie, a lot of dark corridors, not a lot of lighting in a lot of scenes, which is really good because that just adds to the atmosphere and the sense of like, what the fuck is down there? Like when you open a door and there's something over there that's in the dark, and then you keep going, and then there's another door and you open something and there's stairs leading into a dark cavern. You're just like, what the fuck? Like there's no lights anywhere. And it just made it that much more creepy. It was actually a horror movie for the first time in a while where I said, this is somewhat legitimately scary. And I gotta give a lot of credit to the director, Zach Kreger, who also wrote the movie, for crafting a horror movie like that. Minimal lighting adds so much subtle tension and atmosphere to an already disturbing and fucked up movie. Really, really paid dividends at the end here. The ending wasn't very satisfying for me. It felt very abrupt. Things were happening for the sake of convenience. There's some moments like that in this movie, and I said, I really don't buy that. It's more towards the end, but I'm gonna reference a scene towards the middle here. For instance, when our main character, Tess, starts finding out about what's going on in this house and she calls the cops, the officer on the other line of the phone says there's no available units in the area. And I just said, well, that's obviously a convenience that you just kind of have to roll with in your own head. that if you can accept it, you can accept it, and you have to just roll with what the movie's telling you. But for me, I just couldn't roll with it that much because it was just me being like, you know what? The movie's telling me right now that the police can't come because they aren't going to believe her, and if they see the entity, they're just going to kill it right away. Like, there can't be another opposing force coming in to fight this thing. So we're just going to say that there's no police forces or police units in the area, and these characters are going to be left to their own devices. So take with it what you will. You kind of have to take a leap with the conveniences. Some of them I could. Some things like that, I just couldn't. I was just like, nope, that's a little too on the nose for me to actually believe that there's no police presence in the area. There's also some lingering questions that I have in the movie. It answered most of them, but it didn't really answer a big one that I had. And I wasn't 100% sure what to think. I had my own guesses as to what happened, but the movie never confirms that. And that's probably a good thing for a lot of people, that it doesn't straightforward just give you the answers right away. There's flashback scenes in this movie, and it doesn't full-blown tell you. It's more subtle in its approach to revealing its secrets, but there's just some things that were left unsaid, and questions that I have that weren't answered towards the end of the movie that I needed to know a little bit more about. But I would say that the contrivances and the conveniences are easily the weakest parts of this movie. I can live with some questions not being answered. I can live with some predictability, even though those are a few of the negatives that I have in the movie, because the rest of the movie was actually legitimately scary, and it was disturbing and haunting at the same time. Just that dimly lit atmospheric tension set up in this basement and what these characters have to deal with just made the movie that much more terrifying to me. I'm gonna say I really enjoyed Barbarian with a full bucket of popcorn. So guys, have you seen Barbarian? If you have, drop me some feedback in the comment section below. I'll leave my link to my website in the description below as well. You guys are the best. Coming up in October is the annual Halloween Spooktacular. Already got some videos filmed for that, and I gotta get back on the 60th anniversary celebration of James Bond. I've only done one video. One. Well, two if you count the ranking of all the movies that I did last year. But I've ranked the movies, ranked the actors. I'm currently working on a big video essay for it that I hope doesn't get copyrighted. So that'll be up soon, and other content related to that will be up soon before the end of the year, hopefully. You guys are the best. Thank you for watching. My name is Alex Madden, and I'll see you at the movies somewhere.